The following audio may contain coarse language and other material that may not be suitable for a younger audience. Viewer discretion is advised. Also, we may spoil anything and everything, so you have been warned. Hello and welcome to Save Point Gamecast. I'm Jack Newman, and I'm joined here today with Ben Haworth. How you doing, Ben?
I'm doing well, Jack. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good myself. We're also joined here today with our eternal North Star of the Movie Gang podcast community, Peter Dancy. I think you're literally in every podcast.
He's like, he's the rock of our podcast.
You're in every one. You are in every one.
Granted, I've only been able to do like the first episode of Animania, but yeah, actually, you're. Well, okay, scratch that. Feast of Bros, I am not on because.
That's right.
Yeah,
that's right.
Because I don't have HBO.
It makes me feel better because, like, if there's somebody that's actually like on every one, I'm gonna feel bad. Like even I'm not on Geek Space 9.
You're not on Geek Space 9. I'm not on Animania. Peter's not on Feast for Bros. Like the three of us are not on one, and maybe we should keep it that way.
But like the combination of the three of us, we're on every other podcast.
Yes,
so
pretty much.
There you go. All right, today we're going to be talking about some interesting things involving esports. The LOL tournament just took off this weekend, so we're going to take a look at that as our topic of the show. We got a couple news stories, but first off, let's talk about what we played this week. Peter, I hear you got a chance to pick up Mirror's Edge Catalyst.
Yes, I am so very happy about this. Mirror's Edge Catalyst released earlier this year. My brother got it a few days ago, and I loved the original game, and I'm loving this one, which kind of serves as more or less a soft reboot to the series. Like, I am all about this game, like the first person view, the parkour, the kind of super sleek future like semi future aesthetic that DICE has created for this series. It has been so much fun, like a thrill to run around as Faith Connors again, and have the music by Solar Fields playing in the background. It's been a dream.
Oh my god, I forgot about the music. I actually love the first Mirror's Edge music.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you. I know it's essentially a reboot, which is kind of a weird kind of take on games.
Yeah.
Is it a full reboot or a soft reboot?
No, it's full. I thought.
Yeah, actually,
it has no
right.
connection to the initial story from the first game, correct?
No connection. With the exception of Faith, there's like one character from the original game that is in Catalyst, but it's only by her voice with the collectible recording that you're able to find. Do you by any chance remember Celeste?
Yeah, I do. I mean, she was like kind of the core, the only other character in that game.
Actually, that is true. No, it's just because it's been so long. But yeah, she is not in the game herself. But the game has different collectibles that you can find. So documents about different characters, organizations, or events that DICE has created in for the history more or less of Mirror's Edge Catalyst, recordings that you can find, and then I remember back before they released the original Mirror's Edge. DICE was going to have the game. DICE was going to have the game be partly focused on finding and delivering bags. But it ended up not making it into the first game's release. They brought it back though, in the form of a collectible, which they call secret bags, and it's like only a few in each area of the game, and they're like kind of hard to find. So at least knowing like why, like where they came from, why they look the way they do, it's just kind of like, oh yay, like I'm a super fan, quote unquote. But yeah. It's fun.
I mean, for me it's kind of weird because I guess I didn't per se enjoy the story of Mirror's Edge. I'm not like invested, but one of the interesting things for me in the past games that I got to ask you played the first Mirror's Edge, correct?
Yes, I did.
Gotcha. So one of the biggest things is that, like, for instance, like the first 3 or 4 levels of Mirror's Edge were, for me, some of the best video game levels out there in terms of like running and gun, because I loved that game.
Yeah.
And I played those levels over and over again. But once it got into confined space and kind of took on this more
100%.
gunplay,
100% agree.
Yeah, it got really, really kind of like it cut the pace and it cut like the free form of it and it cut kind of the fun of it.
Right.
Did you find that this game had a similar take and viewpoint?
Well, I haven't necessarily been able to get like super far into the game yet. But,
no worries. Yeah.
But I do. With some of the missions that I have done, yes, there is still the problem of confined space. But what I think Catalyst does better than the original game is that it is more of an open world, and it's more of an open world for you to literally, like, for all the space that is available to you, just run and find stuff, and then there are these little things called like timed runs that you're able to do, where you have to get from point A to point B as fast as you can, and having stuff like that in the game, and with DICE reworking their map systems, like how they have everything set up to and then changing different moves that you were able to do as Faith. I think they made it so that it's more fun. It's more fun, and very much encouraged to just free run and like do shit.
Yeah.
Like I guess there's definitely confined spaces, but I did appreciate how it's like full on open world, so that you can just decide, you know what, I'm gonna set down a waypoint and just go.
Yeah, I think for me, and I'll be honest, because I love the first game. Well, I don't love the first game. I have like a very complicated relationship with it, because parts of it are the best thing and parts of it are the worst thing. I'm not gonna lie. Like,
oh no, please don't.
The demo for the original Mirror's Edge is amazing because they have that first perfect level in there.
Oh yeah.
And when I played it drags everyone in. It's great.
And then I remember like the additional kind of like what's the word, like I the closest thing I can think of, I can call them, is like interpretive art type ish levels, like where it's like we get to point A to point B, and like there was no other objective. It was more of just like get there, wall run, jump.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing for me, is that the reason I didn't pick up this game is because I really have an issue, and I swear to God, this is a big thing. I think have we talked about it in the past, where I talked about kind of my hate of open world games and how there is a trend just slapping in open worlds for no reason. I think I made it clear in the past, but like for me, what I want out of Mirror's Edge, and I don't even need a story to string stuff together. I just want it to be like track based. Like I want them to have like tracks, and there could be multiple routes and stuff. But I do like that A to B kind of style. I don't want to like have to think how I'm going to get through a sequence. Like I want it to be split seconds. Like, oh, there's that route. Let me try this route. Oh, you can go that way. That's cool. I'll try this next time. Like, I think that's the issue. Is like, and it was never like a puzzle game to me. And I think that's the thing, is like with adding in kind of like all these world elements makes it feel to me like we're heading in a direction towards like making it more of a puzzle game, versus where I really want this to be kind of like a split second, almost like a racer game where you're using a human body, which is I think the best comparison. I almost want this to have like a Drive Club style game menu that you can like kind of go through, and that's the thing, is, and just give me more races like that first game, because I realized what they didn't want to do, because those first sequences were very heavily scripted, and they didn't necessarily want to do that. And that's the thing, is as they started leaning off the scripting, I think that's why the sequences got worse and worse as that game went on. And this one's obviously gone in an entirely different direction, which is not to my taste in my mind. Though I haven't played it, so you never know. Well, but it does sound, from what you're saying, like it is very different from mine.
To just briefly say that I'll talk more about it later, but I've been playing God of War games a lot, and those are insanely scripted. And are very interesting because of that, I think.
Right.
So I agree. Like you could do a Mirror's Edge that's insanely scripted and still be playable and enjoyable and difficult.
I think that's the thing, is like people are saying scripted is like a dirty word, and for me, like, no, like that like scripted events are like really, really core for me for like story based games, and really necessary.
Totally agree.
I will say, if you want to do the whole get split second decision, get from point A to point B, I would suggest, if you ever do pick it up, do the little mini side missions where shit is timed, and don't turn on the runner's vision, because the runner's vision gives you a direct route, but not necessarily the fastest direct route, there's a lot of mini missions where it's like get this package that this person handed to you to somewhere else, and you have to do it within 30 seconds, a minute, 2 minutes, and it's like, get there as fast as you can. So those challenges I think definitely highlight get from point A to point B as fast as you can in a way that you figure out. That I will say, if you want to do that, definitely do those timed mini missions.
Yeah. All right, I think moving on a bit.
Sorry.
No. I'm glad we got to talk about that. I did not expect you guys to have played so much. Going. We'll talk about mine in a minute, but I have just sucked down into the Dark Souls land, because I picked it back up after Blighttown and finally managed to get through it.
Yeah, we all need round of applause.
Give me some applause.
This is legitimate applause. This is not ironic. I'm 100%.
No. I agree. It is probably getting through Blighttown is probably one of the most frustrating events in my gaming career, and it's one of my proudest. And this is the thing, is I'm really starting to disagree with Dark Souls fans about Dark Souls 1. As somebody who started on Bloodborne and then went to Dark Souls 3 and then came back around to Dark Souls 1, I agree with you entirely about the story elements and how the story elements are structured in Dark Souls 1 about being better. I do not agree with you about mechanics. It's just not as good. The handicaps they have slowly and secretively almost added over the years have made these games much more playable. I'm sorry. But anyways, I'm hoping to get up to the Painted World of Ariamis, because, again, the Ashes of Ariandel, that is the DLC for Dark Souls 3 coming out, is going to be based on the world for the Painted World, and I want to at least have the reverse experience for once, of playing a Dark Souls 1 world before seeing kind of the ultimate Dark Souls 3 attempt to recreate it, which is a lot of people's complaint about Dark Souls 3, is that it's kind of like playing a best of the Dark Souls series, and it kind of feels kind of unfinished in areas, and a lot of people think it needs kind of a Scholar of the First Sins sort of reshuffle to really get to where people really want to see it. So we'll see how that plays out, but I'm really excited for Ashes of Ariandel, mostly because there's a lot of secretive stuff going on in that area specifically. It's kind of tied to Priscilla, and there's all that backstory. One of my favorite fan theories is that Priscilla is the daughter of Guinevere and the dragon Seath, and this is one of my kind of tin hatting theories. No, I mean, that's a pretty accepted theory, but one of my things is that whether or not a million years later, the daughter, the princess, the queen of Lothric is again Guinevere, And if Guinevere is the queen of Lothric, then that explains why her husband attempts to become a dragon, because he's attempting to please her sexually, and this decides to mutilate himself and try to make himself into a dragon.
I'm sorry.
And then if he fails or not, no, dude, Dark Souls is super fucked up.
I'm now understanding why people like these games. This is like serious old school mythology, with lots of weird sexual stuff.
If you ever want to get into Dark Souls, like the understanding the lore and what's happening is what got me into it. Bloodborne I like a little bit better because the lore is kind of to me is just sort of like it's sort of just more like complete, like one thing is sort of happening and you can kind of piece it together what's happening in general, whereas the lore in Dark Souls is like super it's like super metaphorical, like the fire and the cycle and whether or not you decide, because like the ending of none of the games actually matters, and they like directly tell you to your face, whatever you do, it doesn't matter. It's like it's so great, and it's so morbid, and it's based a lot on Berserk, and I love that about these games. And I think I'm loving it more and more because to play Dark Souls 3, I read the fan community and the lore community is so great. You could dive into it. Vadi Vidya is the good place to start. Also, Plague of Gripes has a really great Dark Souls summary video that kind of goes through some of the most, though it's kind of out of date because they talk about Solaire being, the firstborn son of Gwen, and that's like a huge fan theory back in the day that everyone was like, acts like it was almost entirely confirmed, and then they just have a random dude show up and he's the firstborn son of Gwen in 3, and everyone got freaked out. It's so great. I love it. I love it when like they are so certain and like the balloon just gets popped. Sometimes I do think the creator of Dark Souls is like fucking with his own fans. Sometimes, like I do feel like that is directly happening. Like it's undoubtful to me in some elements of Dark Souls 3 that he's fucking with the fans. So going back and playing Dark Souls, every once in a while I'll see something pop up and I'll go, "Oh, you are fucking with us. I got you. Cool. Yeah, that's that experience."
You figured that shit out.
Yeah. All right. Ben, you're playing the Witness in the God of War games, the God of War trilogy, as it were.
Yeah. Well, I guess I'll first say that I beat the Witness, as it were. It had a very beautiful ending, but also, quite frankly, a very pretentious one. It was definitely one where I was like, yeah, you're very smart, Jonathan Blow. Round of applause. Very smart. Very cool. I still liked it. It's still very emotional, but it's just maybe a bit like, right, you're clever. I get it. It's still worth doing, and I've gotten to the challenge area, but by being a challenge area, it's hard. So I'm done. I'm worn out from puzzles, so I'm gonna come back to it some other time. But that'll be my like, hey, you beaten that challenge yet in Witness? Because I do want to do it, but I puzzled out. So I was like, I kept saying to these guys on off air, like, I just need something where it's just kind of mindless, kind of violent, kind of intense, and they're all saying, get Killzone. I definitely want to get that at some point. Killzone. Yeah.
Wait, which one?
Wolfenstein, sorry.
I was about to say. Oh, I was like,
okay.
That's what I was thinking of.
Yeah.
Which I will
love
do.
Killzones.
I would totally do, but my eyes wandered out to the God of War series, which I have not played in a long time. I realized I played God of War 1 and 2 probably 20 times when they first came out. And, like, I love those games. I played them a bunch. Just hadn't played them a bunch. Played them like right before God of War 3 came out. Played God of War 3 only once. And just haven't played since. Been 5 years since God of War. I've played it. I've noticed. It's interesting to come back at it again. That's what I'm saying. I'll talk more about it after your question, but yeah, like it's been interesting to go back to the series. Now there's some distance.
So I want to jump in here and actually put you like, here's my kind of remembrance of the God of War. And again, this is fuzzy because again, I haven't been back in years because my favorite God of War games, like the first one is the story pinnacle of the series, the first God of War games, and the second one is the mechanical pinnacle of the series to me.
Mm-hmm. I would probably agree with that. I think the story, the one thing I've learned is that Kratos is a terrible character. Yeah. He is a very boring character as a character. His design is great, and it's amazing replaying the first God of War how much the mechanics are so good already. Like, definitely God of War 2 steps it up a notch and adds some things that are necessary and changes the game in a lot of ways that are great, but like it's already there in God of War 1. And God of War 1 and God of War 3, there's not much difference, like in terms of just the core mechanics are still there. Things are improved, things are a little bit better. But I personally think we'll see once I'm done with God of War 3, I think I'm going to come back saying God of War 2 is the pinnacle of the series.
That's cool.
Because God of War 1 has like the big moment with the Pandora's box, which is really wonderful, and that whole sequence is great. But God of War 2 is like all that just on and on and on. God of War 1 feels like Batman Begins to the Dark Knight, where it's like we made a smaller kind of movie that's still big, still has this big moments to make this bigger movie later. Yep. And God of War 2 feels like, okay, let's amp it up, and those moments are really big and really wonderful. And I also say, going from God of War 2 to God of War 3, God of War 2 was in this perfect moment where like it's just still fakey enough, it's just still PlayStation enough that the violence is fun. It's just comical, stupid violence, and it's just lovely. And God of War 3 is really uncomfortable. Like, the murdering the gods is really violent and too intense, and it's not fun. And I think that's my why haven't we gone back to God
Double
of War
click
3?
sticks to poke eyeballs out.
Yeah, it's fucking
my
like
God, I forgot
rip
about
Helios's
that.
goddamn head off. It's like, oh, like I've ripped off a billion heads, but now I'm like watching the skin rip apart, and you see the muscles like burst, and it's just like, Jesus.
Yeah,
It's
it's
like,
like-
it was basically the graphical jump that you're just like, okay, maybe a little too far now.
Because like in 2, you take Theseus and you just fucking kill Billa's head against a wall like 20 times, and it's fun.
funny.
It's stupid.
It's
and
funny. Yeah, it's
ridiculous.
stupid. Yeah,
But this
and
game's
it's
like Jesus. It's intense.
yeah, no, it's like the transition from like kind of like Tarantino level violence to like fucking a Saw movie.
Eli Roth. yeah, like a
I
Like
was
that's
not
Transformer
exactly
movie.
yeah.
that's exactly what it is.
Exactly, and it's so funny, and I appreciate the game for changing up. That's one thing I'll definitely say. It's like I appreciate that they will abandon something they don't like, which I kind of love. Like maybe it's not fair, but like the Hades design is terrible in God of War 2. So there's like, fuck it, here's a new design. We don't care. It does not incongruous, but I don't give a shit. Like it's what matters. So it's like I appreciate that a lot, but definitely God of War 3 doesn't age as well because I think it's that era where like it's just way too much fucking shadow because we finally had high dynamic range, for once, and it's just too much like bloom everywhere. There's just like the animations are way too over polished. It's like you can just tell that they're happy. They can do all these things finally they want to do, but it doesn't necessarily work in Congress where like the simpler design of God of War 2 is so much more playable in a lot of ways. At least from God of War 3.
And there's also I found this habit for them to want to take the control away from you in God of War 3 and spin you around the fucking clock and throw you through all these things. I mean, here I'm going to disagree with you. God of War 1 is still the pinnacle for me because God of War 1, like all the themes of that video game, that's the thing. It's like for me, like God of War 1 has really great through themes. I mean, and like ties back into the character design. It's the only time in the series where the story actually makes sense, and then it's like there's like and God of War 2 is like this schlocky sequel that's good in its schlockiness. It's not the Dark Knight though. Like the themes have disappeared for me.
Maybe the best analogy for me is like Terminator versus Terminator 2.
Perfect.
Terminator
Perfect.
is like a little more darker, a little more smart, a little more edgy, but Terminator 2 just blows everything up. It's just like
I wouldn't go back and play God of War 1. I'd go back and play God of War 2, but like I recognize like if you go through the story, like him committing suicide at the end,
that part's
being
great.
Exactly, like there's actually like meaning and stride into it, and
that's the closest Kratos ever comes to a character. Maybe God of War 4.
Right, and that's the thing. It's the only time that he's ever like a complete character is in God of War 1.
He's just ridiculous. He's just like, I will kill everybody. I don't care.
I think that's the thing
maybe
too.
We'll
is
get
like
more
you've
of a character
lost.
in the God of War reboot.
Like 2 like schlocks it up, and that's makes it okay for me. Like 2 makes.
I just love the scale of 2, like the fucking horses of Kronos and just the fucking Furies and the Phoenix.
Or like how Zeus flies in as a giant dude and smashes his fist down. That fight is still kind of cool.
And you're right, the pace is terrible because it literally starts with him like, Kratos now is a really shitty god. He's like, man, and like they immediately take away his powers and you start fighting.
I was like, and it's really funny
Rhodes.
too because like it seems to me that like Zeus has like so much reason to do exactly what he does. Like,
he's right. Kratos is a shitty person. He's terrible.
No, and I think that's the thing that bothers me is like Kratos is like this kind of like rage. God, almost this rage elemental in God of War 1 that's just kind of like this, this go-to man for the gods that they're just like, go do this. And he's like, I suffer. Like it works so much better than him as just like the shittiest god ever. And you're just like, Zeus, you got to put a lid on this, man. Like, we got to do something.
You're right in terms of God of War 1 is the closest to feeling like an actual myth. Like the idea of like the Spartan who joined with Ares, who ended up killing his wife, and the ashes of his wife and child were burned into his skin to show off his sins forever.
Exactly.
Like, it feels
and then
very
they kill
old school
Athena in 2, and you're like, wait, what? Like,
no,
that's
not how
being a god works.
It becomes fan fiction. It's like it becomes fucking Deadpool kills the Marvel Cinematic Universe by 3.
Exactly.
It's like Kratos kills everybody. Like, okay, come on. Like he has to kill every god.
That was actually my favorite thing. If I was the Marvel Cinematic Universe, I would allow Deadpool, like I would like partner with them just to do like some sort of like fan fiction bullshit Deadpool 2. That'd be so cool. And like just like whore Chris Evans out just to get murdered.
Make the Marvel story Deadpool kills Marvel a reality. Make it happen.
It would be fascinating.
Cool.
It would be fascinating.
I really
be
expect
glorious.
Deadpool 2 to suck, though. A little bit. It's probably going to get worn out.
It probably will, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Because I watched Deadpool and I had a good time, but I was like, I don't kind of want to ever watch this again. Like,
I do.
I like the experience I had.
Also, for whatever reason, like rewatching some of those action sequences, some of them are really bad.
Yeah.
I mean, it just doesn't have a lot of market value. All right. Anyways, so that's
I'll say I played Postal 2, but I have a lot of issues with Postal 2 that I need to deal with, and I have to play through Postal 2 some more. Even though I hate it with all my being, and then come back and have a good rant on it. So we'll save that for another day. But
Ben,
we'll come back with Postal 2.
Ben.
Oh my.
I don't know how to. Oh man, I don't. Let's for next time. Let's just
terrible.
do this.
It's pretty terrible. All right.
I'm already
I mean,
concerned.
Postal 2
concerned.
has this great bit. God, what is it? What was those games? It reminds me of playing Half-Life 1 almost, like that style of graphics games back in the day, or it reminds me of playing Resident Evil 2. Like those kind of low-level graphics with the cutscenes. I do like that about it.
Well, I think I'll get more into it later. But I think it's interesting replaying a game that was clearly at a point in gaming that we've actually passed, like the Jack Thompson era has passed. We aren't sort of at that worry that games are going to get censored as much. It's more about issues within the community, Gamergate, stuff like that. It's like the issues have changed, and so it's really weird looking back. It's like watching movies that are very clearly about the Bush era during the Bush era. They don't age very well, and this one doesn't either.
Have you ever gone back and watched Fahrenheit 9/11 and been
it's
what
terrible.
the fuck?
Get
off this guy's jock about playing golf. Fuck you.
I actually never saw Fahrenheit 9/11. I never saw that.
He's not he's not a great president, but he's not a great president because he's playing golf. Fuck you.
And that won the Palme d'Or over Old Boy, and I'm like, that ages terribly. Very few things in Cannes age that terribly, and that one just sticks out like a sore thumb.
I mean, it's just more like everyone, and I think that's the thing is we're not equipped as an industry in either games or movies. I don't think any industry is really equipped to rise above the subject matter of the time. I'm sorry.
We're now getting really good Iraq War movies. You know what I mean? Now we're getting
I don't
and Zero Dark 30 and stuff like that.
I don't necessarily know how I feel about Luke Cage sometimes. And this might start a fight. I'm sorry. I like it. I like it a lot. I just think that final. Have you guys both finished Luke Cage?
No, still have only finished the first 4 episodes. So.
Jesus, damn it.
I'm sorry.
Well,
I'm sorry.
Look at there. No, it's not your bad. It's not your bad.
No,
Peter, be a better black person.
It was a very sarcastic. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I haven't finished it. God, give me a break. Shit.
I know. I'm teasing.
I know. I love.
I mean, I want to have an actual discussion about it because I want to get other people's feelings about that show specifically because I'm not sure how I feel about it. I feel like the last act kind of drops off in a weird sort of way. But you guys will see. I mean, it's really I watched all of it. Obviously, it's really fucking good. But also how it handles issues is interesting to me, and I need somebody else's take to confirm what I'm thinking or not thinking.
I feel you. I'm just gonna admit right now I may have a bias going into it, so I apologize ahead of time.
I think we want to hear your bias. Yeah.
You have a bias. I was about to say that's kind of what I want to hear. It's
No, yeah. After I saw Neon Demon, it has this very odd treatment of lesbians, and I just wanted Sarah's opinion because, Sarah, I kind of don't know how to feel, and I want to know what you feel about this.
Yeah, no, and I don't mean to say that. I want to talk to my black friend about Luke Cage.
Right, you don't have to talk for all black people, but we know how you feel.
It's bad. It's I don't think I can have an opinion because this is media. This piece of media is not directed at me. It's not a bad thing. It's just if I have negative opinions, I am not the target audience one way or another. I cannot. It's one of the first few pieces of media that I'm I don't really think I'm actually qualified as a human being to have a thought about this.
Right, or certain,
which is not a negative thing.
Sure.
It's just
it's not negative.
It's just a fact.
Right.
Well, we all have things that are
we'll get to that
us.
though. We'll get to it.
Yeah. And I think it's just in terms of how the show communicates to itself and uses language and uses kind of this Harlem style language, and I'm just not steeped in that culture, and it's literally I miss conversations and facts and things going on because of the way it's strung together.
Right. So you don't know if it faults necessarily
exactly.
false.
And I think that's just other
that
things
with
too.
like Atlanta right
There's other
now.
things too that like I've never even heard of. It's like the Keep Harlem Black movement, and I'm like, is this racist? I'm not sure.
Right. Yeah, no, a lot of people
like
don't know that Harlem is becoming gentrified. Like a lot of
Yeah,
people don't
No, and
know
it's-
that. And you have to kind of like know New York history or know someone. I just know that because I have a friend who lives in Harlem.
But the
so it's
villain,
like I just know that.
the villain is the one that wants to keep Harlem black. So I'm like confused if that's like a, I don't know. It's really
It's a weird thing, right? Yeah.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
I can't. Yeah, there's a lot to unpack in Luke Cage, and that's the
feel
bit.
you.
Is like I want to actually have a conversation.
Yeah,
Okay.
I need to go back. I need to go back and watch those last 9 episodes, but I'll get to it.
Sorry, I just kind of called you out, Peter. I'm really sorry. That was kind of a
No,
bitch move.
No, you're fine. I've been pissed at myself that I haven't been able to finish.
It's okay. We can go. We can spend the first 20 minutes gushing about how hot he is. It's good.
He's so hot.
Oh,
He's really.
my God.
He's like, dude, like.
As I said off air, he's one of the few like fictional characters who gets laid all the time, and I'm like, yeah, he would.
Oh, that's right.
Chub,
we
Chub
did say
starter of the week. I'm just saying.
Because like when he flirts with people, like, oh, you're hot flirting too. Like, oh, you really
that. Like, oh
yeah.
God, why? I wish I had that. I wish I had that much game.
Yeah, it's just oozing game. Oozing.
And this week, all 3 males on the Save Point Gamecast come over Luke Cage.
Yeah. As to quote Archer, no one's that straight. You know?
all we need is a soggy piece of bread in the middle. There we go.
Oh,
Oh my God.
no. Jack took it to a whole new level.
I did.
Jack
I
does.
did. I did. It is what I do.
We love you
All
for
right,
it.
let's get on.
Can we
Let's
go to
get on to
news
some
now?
news before this gets out of control.
Oh, God.
It's actually already out of
too
control, but who cares?
Too late.
All right, last month Bethesda seemed to give up on a prospect on bringing mod support to the PS4 version of Fallout 4 and Skyrim. They're saying that it's kind of probably going to happen again. They're going to bring some mod support into Fallout 4 and specifically Skyrim Special Edition on PS4. So when Skyrim launches on October 28th, they should, and Fallout 4 doesn't have a date yet, they will probably get some mod support. We don't know much now, depending on what that's going to take the form as, but it does look at this early stage that mods will be coming to the PS4 for both the Bethesda giant games. I mean, well, their biggest games, whatever.
Right. And the key is, as I'm reading this article, is
Yeah.
that you'll be able to use internal aspect mods,
Right.
not external ones. So,
And again,
so
the article,
like,
just as a heads up, the article we're referencing is the Kotaku article. PS4, Skyrim, and Fallout are getting mods after all, but they
Yeah.
will be limited. That's by Nathan Grayson, just to make sure we're properly attributed.
Thank you. Good on you, Jack. Good for sourcing.
No. I put these articles in the show notes, so you go check it out.
Totally. I totally agree. So yes, I'm quoting this article, and he bolds that you will not be able to use external assets. So you can't if someone creates whole new levels, whole new characters, whole new stuff like that, it's more like textual upgrades, things like that. So it's an interesting idea, but again, it's like how limited does that make it? Because I don't know. I'm not really as versed with mods to know what's external and what's not.
I mean, I think this is the other thing too, is that there's definitely, because there's clearly going to be some sort of approval. It's not like an open internet where you can get a mod for Skyrim to have like My Little Pony monster characters. Again, referencing the article, or what's going to make it to the thing is the Thomas the Death Engine mod going to make it, where they replace the dragons with Thomas the Tank engines.
Which is
That's
so
one of my
funny.
favorite. No, it's my favorite.
seen
It's
that
one of my
Donkey video.
favorite
It's so
Skyrim
funny.
mods.
I
It's
seen
amazing.
A screenshot of that when Skyrim was frightening
Yeah.
as hell, and I was like,
It's
I am all
actually
for
it's
this
like
shit.
more terrifying than an actual fucking dragon. Like it's
'Cause it
like,
makes the noise,
his
too.
face.
because they
It's
got
like,
the lighting just right, and it's like dark, and like and it's like light from like under into the side of Thomas, and you're just like, oh God, I'm gonna be like it's scary. It's scary shit.
Totally, but
Yeah,
I think
I
it could
think-
also fix like main things like just like a basic one someone did when they put out the instead of saying like in Fallout 4 your decision wheel is like affirmative, negative, and you kind of have to guess, and sometimes it's like, Jesus, he sounds like an asshole. Like we all hate that, so someone actually puts out like the mod that I think is very key for Fallout 4 is one where it actually says exactly what you're going to say, like old Fallout games.
That's a big deal. And the other
like,
thing is a lot of times for people like
across.
the HUD mod where the HUD just like falls away. Like that's a big deal for me. Like a lot of times in a lot of specifically Bethesda games, I don't want the HUD, and like the people that like there's all these really great like optimization patches. Like are those going to make it? Like what's going to make it? Like I think that's the thing is like we don't know yet like how good this is. What I do know is it's not going to be perfect because I do want kind of an open internet kind of deal, and like I guess like consoles are just not going to allow it where you can like have like interactive sex mods is probably what they're honestly attempting to prevent, but like at the same time and they don't want like little
the creepy add genitalia to your horse mods.
Where it's like there's like these giant horse dicks, like oh my god, they're so bad. There's like a lot of ones. There's a mod where you can change like your sky, I think you can change everyone into a furry or something.
Like,
everyone has a cloaca.
I'll never forget when those people came with that cinematic Half-Life mod and Half-Life 2 mod, and they found out in the texture they made an anatomical vagina for Alex, and it's like, yeah, gamers are kind of gross sometimes. Like you guys are really gross.
I don't know. Like I mean, I guess for me it's like an issue of freedom and like being able to modify. Like that's the reason that people are flocking to PCs is that you have this secondary experience, and specifically the value of Bethesda games on the PC is that you get this kind of second life out of your games by having so much more experience.
It's the Honda Accord. Like Honda Accords are famous in like modding, car modding, live actual car modding communities because it's a pretty basic engine and it's very easy to customize, and so a lot of street racing people love Hondas for that reason because like it's very and Bethesda games are similar where it's like it's not the best engine in the world, but it's like it's open, there's a lot of stuff, there's a lot of textures, there's a lot of maps, there's a lot you can do with it. And
30 miles to the gallon, baby.
Exactly. It's like it's a very customizable
it goes,
place.
It's amazing because it can go both ways, but you can still like soup it up into a pretty good performance engine. And that's
Absolutely.
and like I own a Honda Accord. I love it. It's great. Great car. Honda Accord, the official sponsor of Save Point Gamecast.
I mean, hey,
Sean's going to yell at you about getting sued again.
I know. He's going to email me. He's like, Jack, stop doing torts. Fuck you.
It's literally illegal.
It's literally illegal. Please don't tell Honda. I really do like their car, though. Honda Accord, the official not sponsor of the Save Point Gamecast.
Good cars. They're good cars.
If you want to sponsor us, please contact us at newmanvisualproductions@gmail.com or go over to Tuscan Shed Media Network. You can contact us there, but you may only contact us if you're not going to sue us and are going to give us money to shill you. That is my one condition on contacting. I will not reprise your I don't know. I guess like you can like subpoena me to like be sued. I don't know. Fuck you.
Oh my God.
The Jack School sales. Don't sue me. Fuck you.
Katie's in the background just going, oh, fucking shit. You know you're going to represent me, right? Pass the bar already. God damn it.
Oh, yeah. I felt so bad. I called Sean like a lawyer thing that has nothing to do with it. Whereas like, asking about divorce stuff, he's like, I don't do that. Like, some lawyers I know divorce
it's really
law.
like
Jeez,
it's
God.
like if you like talk to like medical malpractice lawyers about like any other area of law, they're like, I don't fucking know. Like I just passed the bar. I didn't study that bullshit.
Exactly.
It's like
anything
highly
involved in medicine,
specialized.
yeah.
It's like if you like ask an anesthesiologist for like what's like dermatology questions, they're like, "Fuck you!" Like, it's like,
I know how to keep people not from dying while they're under. Yeah,
it's one of those things. It's like if you're a doctor or a lawyer, you need to know like everything there ever was to know about like being a doctor or law, and that's just not how doctors and lawyers work anymore.
Nope.
All right, let's move on.
Specialization.
Let's move on to the next news. We are running behind. Then we're just going to do these next two stories a little bit quickly. But the No Man's Sky community hub on Reddit was shut down the other day, in the continuing unfortunate story of the backlash against No Man's Sky. And then Ben, you had some more information kind of about this going on right now, didn't you?
Yeah, No Man's Sky's gone through a lot with the mods. It's a bit of a Reddit kerfuffle. I believe the mod who shut it down is gone now because it's back up. And I was reading something just real quickly about like not bringing him back. But it is a very tough situation in that like it was a place of a lot of hope and excitement, and it's become a lot of place about bitching and complaints, which is fair because there's a lot of issues people have with No Man's Sky, and I think it's fair to have those complaints met. But I think it's tough when you have a fan community and the fans turn against it. A few Reddit places have become kind of fascinating. Arrow has become apparently one of the most funny places to be on Reddit because everyone hates that show now on that subreddit. And if you hate that show, it's a great place to be. So like if you hate show? No Man's Sky, it's a great place to be. But if you love No Man's Sky and want to go like talk with people, the hive mind can kind of be it. And I do feel bad, and I kind of understand where the mod is coming from. I'm a mod myself. I've had a few minor meltdowns that have gotten me in trouble before. It happens. But I understand, and it's tough because I think, it makes everyone look like they're working for the people who made No Man's Sky. I don't believe that at all. I think they are just fans who want to talk positively about a game they probably do like or don't want to admit it has problems or whatever you want to say. But
I always feel bad for the theoretical fan that just like saw No Man's Sky on a shelf, picked it up, and likes it, and then went online and was like, "What the fuck?"
Yeah, it's like, "Hey guys, I just played this game. I had a great time." Oh Jesus Christ!
It's like literally, there's like they're hunting him like Frankenstein. Like,
right?
There's a fire and pitchfork.
I feel bad for the one person on Twitter who's going to go see Birth of a Nation and not have heard anything about Nate Parker and just tweets like, "Birth of a Nation, saw it's great," and like, "You support a rapist." Like, what? I just saw a movie. Like, it's right. It's one of those things where it's like, you're right. It's a great point, Jack. I feel so bad for the one No Man's Sky person who's just like, I just picked it up and I liked it. Why?
And especially like it's at $60, but it's dropping like a rock now. So like there's gonna be somebody that, like the people that are gonna secondarily like not have heard of it and pick it up in bargain bins are gonna be like, yeah, this is great for $40, and then people will literally fly into a rage.
Right.
And I think that's just the stain on the community at this point. And I think that's the issue is like, is there anything that you guys think that No Man's Sky can do? Like, what would they have to do to reverse this?
I don't know, man.
Clearly what they're doing is wrong because like the company has been almost entirely radio silent. So any improvements that are coming, they're being idiots on top of idiots. Like, I'll agree to that. But like I guess like their argument is probably like there's nothing we can do, and part of me thinks that might be correct. Like, they just need to change their fucking names at this point.
It might be. I mean, the problem is people have long memories on these things.
No, they won't forget. I mean, I'm just saying is Sean Murray will never be able to get two pennies together on a Kickstarter ever again.
Oh yeah, anything involving fan support is gone for him.
Well, totally. yeah, never again.
Ever again. And do you think that's justified?
I think a little bit. I mean,
a bit.
The other thing that's the big news is that the UK advertising board, which has nothing to do with games, which is why it's kind of interesting. It's sort of the first time I feel like outside of the fan reaction that we've had some sort of reaction from non-gamers, and they are actually investigating if No Man's Sky can be considered as false advertising, namely the Steam page, which still shows the E3 trailer, I believe.
That stupid
which has
fucking trailer.
None of the assets in the game, like almost none of them.
Right. Which is going to be interesting. To be honest, I don't think they have a legal leg to stand on.
If it's on the Steam page and it's constant, I feel like there's a problem there.
Well, I mean, the thing they could say is that it was almost suggested, like, where's the contract? Where did they say it was gonna? These assets would absolutely be from this particular trailer. Did they say? I guess they did promise stuff, though. They did say that you could do this and that. They did.
The thing. They never did the couching thing that most game companies do, which is it's not. Why I don't think it's going to change much. That's why it's not like a huge news story to me. I think it's more of a No Man's Sky thing because most game companies do a thing where it's like, assets may not be actual. This is alpha.
There is nothing that says this may not reflect actual gameplay.
Yeah, totally.
God, can you imagine if that first trailer actually had that? Like, how much that probably would have helped what fucking happened.
Oh, so much.
Right. That's all I needed to fucking say, really. That's all anyone had to fucking say.
People said, just literally hours before it launched, they're still saying the same lies. That like they know it's about to launch. Like, that's how bad it gets. You know what I mean?
They're still holding.
I mean, I think that's the thing too. Is they just ended up having like a house of cards, and they were just like, we can't tell the truth.
Yeah, I think so. And like
until like it was on the page.
I don't know how far Peter Molyneux went with his because he's sort of the guy before this who was like famous for doing Black and White and
no,
Fable.
I mean most of that stuff comes out in demos though. Like he's not he's pretty straightforward.
He would say that
at
like
the
E3,
floor,
like, and then eventually he'd be like, yeah, you can't do that shit. Like it's actually harder than we thought.
I mean, I think that's the other thing too is like like there were people screaming about this beforehand for me, like not screaming about it, but like the PS I Love You guys, like Colin and Greg were like, yeah, we've been demoing it. It is not what you think it is. Like this, and they kept saying this is gonna be a fucking disaster. like they're like, it's not a bad game, but it's gonna be a fucking disaster. And they kept saying that over and over again. And I was like, I don't know. I mean, if it's and then it was, and I'm like, okay. I mean, I feel like I don't understand the difference between like a Peter Molyneux game, which I feel like people like, because it's Peter Molyneux at this point, like it just doesn't matter what he fucking says. Like everyone goes in with a grain of salt. Somehow he still gets money because I love Fable 1. I love Fable 1 a lot, and Fable 2 is pretty good too.
And I like Black and White. It's a great game.
Yeah, I never played Black and White. Yeah,
it's pretty good.
Neither have
I. Can't do everything, but it's pretty interesting. It's
yeah. I mean, I think he makes great games. I just like he. Just
they're more limited than he promised.
I'm not gonna change the world. I feel like the other thing is like, Sean Murray laid this out in a way that made it seem possible. Like Peter Molyneux always seems hyperbolic to some extent. Like
a little bit.
It's gonna change games forever.
Yeah, he's a little bit like, you'll plant a tree and come back and it'll be fully grown in 30 years. And you're like, that's not gonna happen. Like, come on, man. But you can kind of believe them saying like, procedurally generated and every world's different. Like you can see, and it's kind of true.
Because they couched it in like new and developments in science and all these other things and like the graphics and passing power. Like it's like they couched it in terms of like, oh, we have these abilities now to do this, and like people were looking at the tech and it's like, yeah, they do have the abilities. I mean, to be honest, I still think people have the tech. I think they have the tech in the AAA space, not in the indie space, to put this kind of game with the level of detail that they had out there.
Totally.
It was just never going to come out of an indie company, though.
Yeah.
Like, baseline, like Ubisoft could do this game.
And again, it's the thing we said, like, if they were just like a game that's like, hey, check this out, and it's $20, and it's neat and new and different, people would probably really like it, actually. Or maybe not love it, but, like, might find something interesting about it and have maybe a certain fan community that's with it now, Some sort of like cult hit or something like that, but
yeah. I mean, yeah. So, all right, so that's cool. So, up to the next sped along news because again, we're way fucking behind.
Too in depth.
I know. In the continuing Digital Homicide, so we dropped the news story last week or 2 weeks ago that Digital Homicide, that Steam is finally up and removing Digital Homicide. Pardon me, burping. Trying to burp less on the cast. It's not successful. Anyways, Digital Homicide has had its games removed from the Steam store. And as a result, this week, Digital Homicide dropped a lawsuit against Steam users, which is absolutely fucking ridiculous that they had a lawsuit to begin with. I still don't kind of understand, like, how this is legally doable. I have to admit, sometimes I like read Digital Homicide stories and I like check to see if they're like Onion articles almost. like sometimes I was like, wait, you sued the reviewer because he didn't like your game? Like, what? I don't get it. I don't get it, dudes. I just don't. What's your exit strategy here? You don't have a lawyer?
There was no rhyme or reason.
Self-representing? Like, what's happening? I don't know. I don't care. I mean, but at this point, they dropped the thing, and they said in the thing, they're like, we're closing the suit because we have no money anymore because all our money, which also surprises me that they were making that much money from their shit games. Apparently, they were. Whatever. I guess the asset flip is actually like a lucrative business, unfortunately, for a lot of other people. So we'll see how that continues on. But, and again, Digital Homicide, the famous asset flipper games, Jim Sterling went off on a rant about them. And they, kind of came back at him, and he came back at them, and he didn't back down from them, and eventually they sued him for libel. And I've talked about this before, but if you want to go hear the most awkward podcast in human history, go listen on the Podquisition feed where you can hear like their like hour-long interview of him where they like attempt to dox him and all this other stuff. It's like the single most awkward thing. It's like the Hillary and Trump debate is probably a good like par for awkwardness, and this is about 2 steps above that.
Oh boy, damn.
like there's nothing good coming out of that. It's just like two people that cannot communicate because they're just well, the Romaine brothers are just insane. I just it's liable. They might sue me now. God damn it.
Hey, it would give our podcast traction, so
it would. Yeah, they'll be like, we're helping him. You guys should be thanking us. You're getting all these viewers because we sued you. And I was like, oh my god.
Yeah.
I mean, at this point, they're just like for me, they're just kind of like famous internet kooks.
They really are, and I don't feel bad that their company failed.
I mean, I think it's good. I think it's Steam getting its shit together, and I think that's the thing is
if they were trolls, like I'm glad either way. I'm glad either they are legitimate crazy people who are assholes who tried to game the system and failed miserably, or they're shitty trolls who tried to game the system to get bad reviews to have people buy their games to play them, and they also completely failed. So both totally failed, whatever they are deep down. Like failed,
or it was an elaborate plan to reveal how Valve needs to get their shit together, and they were just like, okay, cool, Mr. Nexus, we're done here.
They Dark Knighted it. They were
yes, they
the
Dark Knighted
silent
it.
Hero.
They're just like, okay, we're done here. Case closed. Everyone, move out.
It's like that one guy who runs every year who says like, I just want to become president so I can disband the Electoral College and then I'll resign.
Yes.
Oh Jesus! This is not going to end well. I mean, to me, this is exactly kind of like I don't know why. Like I keep bringing up Trump when I talk about these guys, but it does kind of feel like the Romaine brothers and Trump are kind of in the same vein of if you say it long and hard enough, it can be true.
Right.
Which is just kind of the scary thing, kind of about like the echo chamber of the internet, is that somebody will believe you and somehow lend credence to your crazy if you can just get enough people to agree with you. Which is why when somebody says, if enough people disagree with you, you must be wrong. I'm like, no, sit on your horse. Like logic is a thing. Like the human race, just by like democracy of like ideas is not. It's not about like loudest fucking asshole. It's not about this. Okay. Oh my god, I'm gonna get on a really bad soapbox here.
We don't have time for this.
I know. We literally do not have time for me to get on a soapbox about fucking the election. To begin with, that's something I never wanted to actually happen on any podcast. So, all right. Topic of the show. Topic of the show. Show topic. I don't know. I'll come up with something later. I need to get a bell for this show. That's what we need. We need like a bell that I can ding, and when somebody says something smart, I can go ding. Does that sound good to you guys?
That's gonna be a lot of dings.
It's become really competitive for dings.
A lot of dings, or potentially none.
Don't take my dings, you motherfucker! All right. Anyways, this weekend was the kickoff of the LoL Esports tournament. Again, League of Legends Esports. And esports is a rising issue in our community. I don't know why I call it an issue. It's actually a great part of our community that's kind of taking off. Kind of with the rise of video game streaming, and yeah, it's an element. It's very much so a different world than kind of the core context of gaming, because you have within the core context you kind of had these kind of like action adventure games, but then a couple of like very very specific multiplayer games like CS:GO, StarCraft and Dota 2 and LoL and a lot of various fighting games have kind of gone off and made kind of this esports community. So as such, we wanted to take a time to kind of talk about like where esports is going and how do we think it's going to evolve over time. And one of the things I wanted to kind of start off with is because I think it's the best to start here for us, because I played LoL. I'm not very good. I played StarCraft. I don't consider myself a good at either games. I would consider myself a good Overwatch fan, but I want to get to eventually like why or why not the Overwatch esports community hasn't taken off in terms of massive viewership yet. That's going to be another day's discussion, especially when the game is like literally designed to have built-in seasons into the gameplay, which is an interesting thing because it has like it's clear to me that Overwatch was built with esports in mind to some extent.
Right, because you could tell that Blizzard didn't want a Titanfall situation where like it's great at the start and then eventually everyone just stops playing all at once. They wanted a WoW situation where people just keep coming back because of the new content or the new seasons. Or
and again, I've kind of said before why.
Two reasons, yeah.
why the difference between Titanfall and specifically this one. Like Titanfall, like, you know, for me, the best part about Overwatch is that, you know, Titanfall, you kind of have, like, you can customize your robot and your character in the Call of Duty style, but unfortunately that's not a lot of different matches up, and it takes a lot of different individuals, but they're kind of like, you know, there's an economy of individuals that you go to, versus within Overwatch, there's so many different characters with like set movements, set player kind of styles, and everything becomes a counter, so you switch out move styles and sets as you get killed and move back in, so it creates a much more interesting play environment by almost limiting us. So like the fact that like a lot of people are like, well, there's not a lot of things going on in Overwatch. Well, yes there are, because it's more of a chessboard as opposed to playing checkers in Titanfall. Sorry.
No.
No, yeah.
You nailed it.
No.
Yeah. No, I mean, that's the thing, is like,
that analogy.
people are
I've never heard it
saying,
like that.
No, people are saying that, like, oh, Titanfall, there's like, you know, there's all these things. It just didn't have a really great afterlife. And I think the reason for that comes down to, like, you know, the gameplay is so much less inherently interesting than a COD, and more to some extent Overwatch, because there is so much more tactically going on in Overwatch. Even if the moment-to-moment gameplay has a lot less options than per se a COD with grenades and whatever.
Right, and that's when you get to an interesting thing of like, why do some games catch on and why do some don't? We talked a little off air, and we'll talk some here. Like, why is it that Super Smash Bros. Melee becomes so important and not Super Smash Bros. Brawl, the one that's on Wii U now? Which I don't.
Which is literally like Smash Bros. Wii U.
No, it's Smash Brothers Wii U. It's Smash Brothers Wii U.
Yeah, Smash Bros.
It's the most.
Wii U.
It's the most ridiculous thing. I don't know why they switched it up, and it just makes. I have to admit, like the creator, you can tell sometimes feels like he's stuck in the rut of doing these Smash Bros. Games. So you can kind of tell to some extent. Yeah, you can tell it's Smash Bros. Wii U. It's like, they're just gonna have one for every console because it's not a legitimate console if it doesn't come out. And I will never acknowledge the Wii U because it doesn't have a Zelda.
It's true. It's supposed to have a Zelda, but NX might have the Zelda first, so who knows? But anyways,
they're gonna do a Twilight Princess scenario, and it's gonna affect Twilight Princess negatively. I mean, not whatever. No, what is it? Winds of the Wild or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's Call of the Wild. That's not what it is.
No.
The funny thing is, like, I was I know. He just dies on a bus, like freezing to death.
Breath of the Wind. That's what.
Breath of the Wind. Oh my god! Like, the funny thing is, I was worried.
Were off like a motherfucker.
I was making a joke. And I was like trying to make a joke, but then I was thinking about it. I was like, did I actually say the correct title by accident in terms of my joke? No worries, wasn't even close. Breath of the Wild. Well, whatever that means.
To an interesting point, yeah, where like Melee is the one that's really preferred because of this very interesting glitch where there's basically Jack, you know more about this glitch, right?
Yeah, it kind of creates some frame invincibilities, kind of in terms of that. It just kind of changes. I mean, I can't really explain the mechanics to mechanics. Go watch Melee matches and compare them to Brawl, and you'll instantly see the difference. And one of the other things is, it's fascinating. People play differently. It looks like definitely the way people play it. It looks like people are spazzing the fuck out. Like, it's kind of like how it is.
It's so complicated when you hear someone explain it, which is again one thing that's very interesting about esports. It's like, I love watching stuff I don't understand because it's very fascinating when you see someone go like and then like everyone just freaks the hell out because of some crazy thing happened, and it looks like the same stuff I've been seeing the entire time, but you just don't understand exactly what it is.
Which is kind of because it's a digital playing field and because these games are evolving all the time. It's kind of the issue with esports is now it's like playing a game of soccer, and every other year they add like 6 yards to the field. It's just a little bit longer now, and the ball's a little bit heavier.
Soccer 2016, where like now in this version of soccer, to pass you have to do this, and you also don't have this thing where, like, in a sense, sports are public domain, which is kind of interesting. Like, we don't really think of them as terms of entertainment or properties. No one owns football. Yes, the NFL owns National Football League and football on television and all that, but no one owns football itself. I can go buy a football, go play football, and not get sued. I can film me playing football, put it online, and not get sued. But there's a difference between, I can't just go make a Smash Bros. Clone, and that is Smash Bros. And I can sell it at Academy Sports. Like, that's never going to happen. So, like,
academies for.
Right. You know, like, so you are at this weird thing where you have, like, obviously people love that the idea of esports is making money and has investment in keeping their brand alive, but it's also a thing of like, well, we also have to sell to people who aren't esports people. Like, there are people who just play Super Smash Brothers like me, who just like pick it up and love to play with friends when they're around, and then put it away when friends aren't around or something like that. So like, the balance of that is very tough, and I can understand what's very tough for someone like Nintendo to be like, but we want you to fucking play the new one. That's why we made the new one. But everyone's like, no, we like the old one because those are the mechanics we like, and we're good at that, and we want to keep doing that, you know. And that's where I think the issue is going to be very interesting in the future.
And then there are people like me who don't have any kind of Nintendo console and pretty much just play whatever Smash Bros is available at his friend's house whenever he goes over. Like I have one friend whose game night I'm actually going to later this week, and because of the consoles, like the myriad of consoles that he has, I will literally have the choice between playing either Melee or playing the new one on the Wii U. So it's like I am not competitive. I just want to play with friends.
Right. And it is that balance, you know, between trying to sell esports and trying to sell things. And that's why it's interesting where it is interesting, you're right, Jack, where it's like, why is it that Blizzard thought of esports to begin with and the regular gamer, and why is it working with the regular gamer definitely, but not with the esports crowd?
Well, it's because I think Blizzard has the most the best track record here with creating these kind of games, because they got Hearthstone, they got StarCraft, they got Dota 2.
Hearthstone's probably Dota 2 is probably their biggest, in terms of...
Yeah, Dota 2 is. I mean,
especially
it's funny too because
longevity.
Dota 2 is probably the biggest and invented the game, but LoL is dominating.
Yeah.
To my mind.
From what I
even though Dota 2 has a very, very, very different play style, even though they're similar games. And that's the issue, is that when you get into those pro levels, and that's the thing, it's back to like this whole like changing game things, is like, how can this be a sport if we're going to get buffs every 6 months or every month that is going to change how gameplay works and who's the dominant character and who's this. And that's the thing, is like, you know, the buffs, like it threw me off so hard how much buffing was happening when I initially picked up Overwatch, because like, I was like, D.Va is amazing, and then D.Va wasn't amazing, and then D.Va was amazing again, and I was like, oh my god. Or like Bastion, they buffed the shit out of Bastion, or they did some different things, or they added like the new like distance healer, and she still sort of sucks. And
Zarya, they buffed her up, and it's like what's gonna happen?
I love Zarya. I think Zarya is my favorite like go in and fuck shit up tank, because her shields are really, really weird. You have to have like support characters as well, because she's kind of like this support tank. But like, I mean, the only tank I can't stand is Winston, and to be honest, I'm always a Lucio. I always play healer to begin with, and I'm just like fucking about. Like, you can't hit me. I love fucking around with Lucio, just like gliding on walls and healing people, just like staying around, like pissing people off. One of my favorite maps is just like, this thing is like, I like the other team got like a team kill, and like I was just like holding down they like backed off and getting ready, and I was just like on top of like the package, like heading in. They were just like firing there's like two Widowmakers just like firing at me, and I'm Lucio, and I'm just dancing on top of the car like, you can't hit shit, you can't hit shit, you can't hit shit, you know what, you can't hit this shit, motherfucker. Just like, yeah, and I'm like Katie's like next to me, and I'm literally like screaming at the TV. It's like I'm like dancing. I love that game, and I think that game is a lot of fun. And I think the issue for me is that I wonder if it's more set for casual play, and that's just one of these things, is that it may not be a very fun game to watch, as opposed to something like a 2D top-down like StarCraft or LoL, for that matter. Because that's the other thing, is like, it's really hard to look at like 2D games, and that's the other thing, is like CS:GO, you know, is like an insanely popular game. It has like an insanely popular tournament strategy, but people in that community watch that. It doesn't have a lot of punctuation outside, whereas a lot of the LoL games are more like 2D up and down. Like you get LoL, which has like the isometric. Well, it's not isometric. What is it, Ben? It's it's from above. It's from above, and you can see the map, and that's the idea. Is you're not going like a third person or first person perspective, and that's the issue. Is that what first person or third person perspective games are there? that are that popular other than CS:GO. Yeah, it's LoL and StarCraft and fighting games.
Yeah, no, and that's why I think like LoL and Dota is so interesting. It's that the 5-player team idea is very neat. It's an interesting idea of a team sport that's limited in a sense and doesn't expand to like the crazy CS:GO levels where it's like 20 people on one map and it's just hard to follow at some point. It's like it's 5 consistent people and you can follow who's the champion, who's not the champion.
And I'm sorry, like I respect this. I think the thing is I respect like the tactical skill sets when a team is being tactical and working in LoL. Like seeing somebody make a crazy sniper shot in CS:GO, I'm just like that's such bullshit. I'm not saying that individual isn't the most skilled man at that sniper shot in existence, because he is. He's insanely skilled. It's just it's not like watching it's not like watching Tom Brady throw a perfect pass where you can understand the mechanics of what's happening and appreciate it in a different sort of way.
That's very true. You're right. And I think it's the difference between like sports. I can never follow sports in movies because it's all shot in close up. It's all shot in a cinematic way, which is fair. But I'm used to watching sports through a very utilitarian filming style, which is like the wide shot.
Into
the close when
cameras back just so far to be able to catch up with the action.
Like you could literally technical direct a show most of the time by yourself. Like you've seen enough sports, you could probably be like, and into the cut, and into out, and into camera 3.
Yeah,
like you can kind of guess where they're going to go with a lot of those things.
Yeah,
and I think LoL attracts to that similar way we've taught our mind to watch sports. You know what I mean?
Football movies in particular are like really bad offenders of like that sort of style of editing because they're trying to show off
watch anything.
The impact. They want to show the impact, and that's the thing is like, we're in the gridiron, and they cut for that impact. And so it like really on the impact, it cuts and you're right in there, and like they always like you have no idea what the fuck is happening.
Insane.
Friday Night Lights is hilarious in that way. Sometimes it's like Rudy and Friday Night Lights. Great show. It's just like who fuck knows who's winning.
Thank God they have reaction shots.
Exactly. Yeah, it's only from the crowd's context. Like that's the funny thing is like in Rudy too. Like you don't know what's actually happening, but you just know from like the crowd's context.
The Last Boy Scout. That football scene is a nightmare. It's Tony Scott shooting a football scene in the rain. It's unbelievable how to follow.
I actually have no idea what you're talking about.
That doesn't need to be a thing, period.
Last Boy Scout's a great movie, but that scene drives me fucking insane.
Do you think there's an issue too with esports is just that like we just don't inherently respect a player because they're sitting down and because they don't appear athletic?
I imagine for a lot of people who aren't, because there's 2 barriers of entry. There's that, you're right, where it's like, okay, they're just hitting keys. I can hit keys. It's the whole like my child could paint that thing. You know what I mean? It's a similar kind of attitude.
Oh, yeah.
Well, they can't do that.
No, absolutely not.
Yeah,
but that's the point. It's the idea of like I haven't done it, but I bet I could. Like most people who watch Tom Brady throw a football, like, I know I can't do that because I've thrown a football and it doesn't go very far.
It doesn't do. You don't Tom Brady it, but you understand. I think that's the thing is like I think that's for certain games. It's like the difference in play for me is like I can go play StarCraft. I can't play StarCraft like on their level, and I think that's the thing for me is like a lot of these games like you can understand the moment to moment of what's happening even if you can't play on their level. But for me a lot of times like the inner mechanics of like for instance like fighting game tournaments, I don't really enjoy watching fighting game tournaments because at that level and that level of like screen and like frame counting and all this stuff, like I can't understand how much the distance, and I know it's there. I know the distance between them and me is insane, because like I like Mortal Kombat, and apparently that makes me a fucking casual. Sorry, I don't mean to dig on that, but apparently that does. Casual fight. I don't know. Anyway,
you learn what fighting games are like. The ones that actually have skill involved, versus like the ones where you can cheat too easily. People.
No, I mean I think I have skill and I'm good. I think I'm good at Mortal Kombat, and I play and I know the move sets for the characters. But like in terms of like screen counting and knowing like the counters to like this different character and that different character, like I have no fucking idea.
Well, that's exactly where it gets to a point. Like debate's at a very interesting point right now because debate right now is more like about it's very weird, but like it's more about
spreading,
spamming. Yeah, it's more about
spreading. It's spreading. Trust me, like that was a big deal. I did Lincoln Douglas and I did PF, and I could not stand PF because PF has just gone the way of spreading, and like because I won, I came in 8th. Can you explain it
for people real quick because I didn't even know about this.
No, so spreading is essentially like what happens is that the idea is that you put down as many arguments as possible to the case in question. So you have like a pro and a con to a centralized argument, and then the person that comes up puts down as many things as possible, knowing furthermore that in the amount of time that you give to the person that coming next, like they can't possibly look at all the things that that you put down, and so you just grab all the things that they didn't address and say, my person didn't even talk about X. They
literally talk like, yeah, they're like, just, all right, you know, the first part of that, I mean, like, it's literally like auctioneer style, like,
no, and this thing and that thing and that thing and that thing, and it's like you can't even understand them, and you have to be a skilled debater to even understand them at that point. And it's the whole thing is that it's no longer about oratory skill, and that's the thing is like, it's become kind of like this points game of like getting just as many points on the board and the person trying to catch up to all the existing points, and understanding like, you know, here's every possible argument you can make, and it doesn't matter the validity as long as you just make all of them. And I think the thing is it's becoming stupid.
Yeah,
essentially.
And I'm not saying it's that, but I think it's a similar idea where it's like you have to, like you said, if you know debate, you can see what they're doing, but if you don't know debate, you watch and go, what the fuck is going on? Why is everyone screaming and talking at like 10 miles an hour? You know?
Exactly.
And it's a similar thing where people are getting to the technical level of like screen timing, like, you know, like that technical, that specific, where like you watch some of these fights and they're literally like block, and it doesn't feel engaging in some ways to some people. Right. And that's where I think like a lot of a barrier would be. Whereas, and maybe there might just have to be two different kinds of esports, where like it's those super technical ones, and there's ones like, you guys don't fucking fight, you know, like you just have to like make it look interesting in a way. And I don't know if that's possible.
I know a guy who actually is a programmer that works with me at Duke, who like goes to like Evo and stuff and like plays in fighting game tournaments. I don't know how far he gets, but he like actually goes, and he's like, and he talks about how like the room at Evo, everyone is a pretty fucking amazing fighting game guy by my standards that is there. And that's the thing, is that crowd like gets what's happening. And for them, it's like the Super Bowl.
Oh yeah, no, and that's what's great. It's like when that little thing I was saying, when like something happens, I don't get, the entire crowd knows what's happening, and that's really
because they like absolutely explode.
Yeah, I know, and some of those some of those South Korean stadium shots with like people like just losing their goddamn
over
mind.
StarCraft. Oh my god, they are insane over there.
Yeah,
they have a whole StarCraft channel. It's crazy. Like,
no, I know. I love it. Like, you can watch this stuff, and it's great stuff. And I think that's the thing, is I'm so happy that esports exists. I'm just really, there's so much mechanics to it that I don't know how it's going to pan out or how it can work, because it's going to be different. I think for me, the fact that we call it a sport kind of is disingenuous to what it is.
That's an interesting point.
Like we don't call chess a sport.
Right. It's like sort of like
it's a
how
game.
We had that is our game's art argument for a long time.
Yeah.
It wasn't the point. People weren't ever arguing that games are art. It's like our game's high art.
I think people are like inherently thinking, because we're calling it a sport now, that we're adding value to it. I don't think classifying this as a sport makes it more legitimate. Like, I don't think football is more legitimate than chess. Like, I think that's the thing, is like, you know, there's like a sport in terms of like professional chess players, but my argument is that they're having a championship of a game, and I think that's just like kind of how we need to like look at this, because there's rules and things that change. Obviously chess doesn't really change, but like I think we need to look at how we do it. This difference and this comparison that we keep creating between it and a sport is kind of bad. Well, yeah. All right. Well, let's go ahead and wrap up. That's pretty much. I didn't see any listener questions, but I didn't really check, and it's been a little bit longer because I've been super busy because we're about to go to Chicago coming up soon. So I appreciate your guys' patience in this late episode. So I hope you're enjoying it. Yeah, Chicago. I don't know. Anyways, to wrap up, if you guys enjoyed this, head on over to Podbean, or you can go over to TuscanShed.com, which is the Tuscan Shed Media Network on Google. Go check that out, and you can go see our other podcasts, including the Movie Gang podcast we made a lot of reference to on here, Animania, Geek Space 9, and A Feast for Bros, our Game of Thrones watch-along podcast. So go check out all our other podcast works. You can go online and check us out at SavePointGC. Send us some questions, talk to us, or head head on over to and go to @contact on Tuscan Shed Media Network, and you can send us some questions there. We'd love to hear from you. We'd love to get some things. Also, you can head on over to patreon.com and go check out the Tuscan Shed Media Network site. And for the price of a cup of coffee, 1 cup of coffee a month, you can help support us and keep us putting content on the air. So we would really appreciate it. For Save Point Gamecast, this has been Peter Dancy.
Goodbye, everyone.
And Ben Haworth.
Thanks for listening, y'all.
And I have been happy to be your host, Jack Newman. Thanks a bunch, guys. Go to Patreon. Do it. All right. We're out.
Awesome.